Welcome to our podcast conversation on the way of walking alone.
Miyamoto Musashi's 21 Principles for Life.
Let us welcome our hosts, Tiffany and Johnny.
All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Today we're going way back in time, exploring the Dokkodo.
The 21 Principles for Life from the legendary samurai Miyamoto Musashi.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'd seen this book around, but the video you sent over really brought it to life, honestly.
Yeah.
I was surprised how much these principles still resonate today, even after all these centuries.
It really is something, isn't it? How Musashi, this warrior, lived by the sword, but he could also offer these, super profound insights into just being human. And these principles, he wrote them near the end of his life. They weren't just about, fighting.
Right, they were about mastering yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I kept thinking about, too. I mean, you say samurai code, and people picture, rigid discipline. But what we find in the Dokkodo is, well, it's surprisingly adaptable. You could use this philosophy to navigate, anything, even our crazy world today.
Exactly. It's about finding your own path. He calls it the way of walking alone, making decisions clearly and, holding on to your integrity even when things get tough.
Okay, so let's break down a few of these principles. I gotta say, the way Musashi tackles acceptance and detachment really got me thinking. His first principle, accepting things as they are. I mean, the video used that image of a leaf just floating on the water, just going with the flow, and it was...
Perfect metaphor.
Yeah, it was.
Instead of exhausting ourselves, fighting against the current, Musashi's find peace in accepting what is. It's not about giving up, but about recognizing we don't always have control. And choosing to move forward with that,
That makes total sense. But then he takes it even further with principle number 5, detaching from desire. I gotta be honest, that one's tough, especially now. I mean, everywhere you look, there's a message telling us we need more, more, more.
Oh, absolutely. It's constant, isn't it? That pressure to upgrade our phones, clothes, our lives even. And it's all fueled by this marketing that's you're not good enough until you have this. This endless cycle of wanting just keeps us dissatisfied. Musashi's principle, it's he's telling us to get off that treadmill and find contentment from within, not by chasing validation from outside.
Makes you think about social media, everyone's showing their perfect life, making everyone else feel like they're not good enough. How can we use what Musashi is saying, this wisdom, to find real satisfaction in the middle of all that manufactured desire?
That's the question, isn't it? The million-dollar question. I don't think Musashi would say we can't enjoy nice things. But he definitely wants us to be aware of what's driving our desire.
Yeah.
Are we looking for real fulfillment or just chasing, fleeting highs and, someone else telling us we're okay? It's about knowing the difference and choosing to put our energy into what really matters.
So we're accepting what is, detaching from desire. It seems like those ideas naturally lead to, self-mastery. And Musashi addresses that in a bunch of the other principles.
Right on. There's definitely a progression here. Let's look at principle number 3. Don't depend on partial feelings. Remember that image from the video? The warrior meditating in the pouring rain, totally unfazed.
Yeah. It's like he's found this stillness inside himself that nothing can touch. But what are these partial feelings we're supposed to watch out for?
Okay, so think about it this way. We make decisions based on how we're feeling at the time, right? Fear, anger, even excitement, like that thing you buy and regret later, just at the time you're like, I need this. Or firing off an angry email when you're just frustrated. Musashi wants us to be more aware so those partial feelings don't, cloud our judgment.
So instead of just reacting, we should try to respond with, clarity and intention, even when things are rough. It's like finding that warrior inside that can stay calm in the middle of the storm.
Exactly. It's mastering yourself so you can make choices that fit with your values. You're not just letting emotions push you around.
That makes me wonder, does this connect with the idea of no regrets? That's principle number 6, right? The footprints in the sand fading away, that was such a powerful image for letting go.
Absolutely. It's not that we shouldn't learn from our past, but dwelling on stuff we can't change, it just keeps us stuck. Musashi says, accept what's happened, learn from it, and then move on with that new wisdom.
Okay, so that could lead to a more peaceful life, I get that. But isn't no regrets kind of idealistic? Oh, don't we all have things we wish we'd done differently?
Of course. We're human. We mess up. It's okay. Musashi isn't saying we can, erase the past, just that we can choose how we see it. Instead of letting regret eat us up, we can use it to grow and, make different choices next time.
That's a good way to think about it. It's not about being perfect, which you can't do, but about learning and evolving.
Exactly. And that connects really well with principle number 9. No resentment or complaints. That serene image of the still pond reflecting the sky. That was,
Oh, yeah, such a peaceful contrast to that warrior in the rain. So, how does that image connect to letting go of resentment?
well, resentment's like a rock thrown into that still pond. It makes these ripples of negativity that, like, mess with how we see things and stop us from feeling real peace. Musashi knew that holding on to resentment, that anger and bitterness, it hurts us more than anyone else in the end.
So, it's not about pretending we don't have feelings, but about choosing to let go of the negative stuff so we can move on with a clear head and a purpose.
You got it. Holding on to resentment doesn't change what happened. It just steals our joy right now.
Wow, this is giving me a lot to think about. Musashi's approach, it's so different from how we usually deal with things in our world. Fast-paced, reacting all the time.
Totally. But that's why his wisdom is so valuable. He's giving us this, like, timeless framework for dealing with the stuff we all face no matter what time we live in.
All right, so we've covered acceptance, detachment, self-mastery, just through a few of these principles. But the Dokkodo, there's so much more to it. How does Musashi help us with, our relationships and how we see the world?
Now that's a great question. This is where we start seeing how deep and nuanced Musashi's philosophy really is.
Okay, I'm ready to hear more. Let's dive in.
Musashi, he had these really interesting ideas about how we see ourselves and the world around us. Like, take principle number 4. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. The video showed this huge landscape, mountains going on forever. It really hit you with the scale of things.
Yeah, it was powerful, that visual. You can't help but feel like small when you think about the big picture. Like we're just this little part of something so much bigger.
Exactly. It's about seeing where we fit in the universe, but not like putting ourselves down. We matter, but so does everything else. And Musashi wants us to really engage with the world, understand how complex it is, and contribute something meaningful to it.
That reminds me of a quote I love. It says, "The world is but a canvas to our imagination." I think Musashi would agree with that. That we can shape our own experience of the world.
I think he'd like the idea, but he might also say, don't let your imagination run wild without keeping it real. For him, thinking deeply about the world also meant understanding its rules, like its rhythms and patterns. It's about imagination mixed with awareness.
Interesting. So it's not just about dreaming big, but also about knowing how the world actually works.
Right. And that leads us to principle number 7, never be jealous. The video had this beautiful image of 2 trees growing next to each other, both strong and healthy, each in their own way.
Yeah, I remember that. Instead of competing for sunlight, they're both doing great, each one living up to its potential. It's a great reminder that comparing yourself to others, it just steals your joy.
Totally. And Musashi's going deeper than just avoiding negativity. He's saying everyone has their own path, their own strengths to develop. It's not about being better than someone else, but becoming the best version of you.
I feel like that message gets lost a lot these days, With all the competition, especially on social media where everyone's showing off their best moments. How can we use this principle to be happy with our own unique journeys?
It's hard, that's for sure. Maybe we can think about Musashi's background here. He was a master strategist, always looking for an advantage. So what if we use that strategic thinking in our own lives? Instead of comparing ourselves, what if we focused on finding our own strengths, our inner warrior, and building on those?
I like that. Taking control of our own path, defining success for ourselves. It's about winning the battle against self-doubt, which can be the hardest battle of all.
You got it. And speaking of battles, principle number 8, don't be saddened by separation, gives us a powerful way to look at loss and change. That image, the figures parting ways on that mountain path, really got to me.
Me too. It says so much about the cycles of life, those goodbyes that are just part of things. There's a kind of, I don't know, bittersweet beauty in seeing that.
Definitely. Instead of clinging to the past, Musashi's telling us to accept the things change, to find strength in letting go, and to appreciate the time we have with the people we care about.
It makes you think about how we try to hold on to things so tightly, whether it's people or stuff or even ideas. Maybe there's freedom in accepting that change is just how life is.
I think so. He's not saying we shouldn't grieve when we lose something or cherish memories. But holding on to them too desperately, it just makes the pain last longer.
Okay, so we've looked at acceptance, detachment, self-mastery, And now, this perspective on relationships and how we see the world, there's a definite theme of resilience running through it all.
Yeah, totally. It's like Musashi's giving us the tools we need to face life's challenges with grace and strength.
Hmm.
They're going to come, those challenges. It's inevitable.
But what about living with purpose? We've talked about overcoming negativity and accepting what happens, but how do we actively create a life that has meaning?
That takes us to the core of Musashi's thinking. Let's start with principle number 2. Don't seek pleasure for its own sake. The video contrasts this fancy feast with just a simple bowl of rice. It's highlighting the difference between, like, shallow indulgence and real satisfaction.
That image stuck with me. What's the deeper meaning there? Is Musashi saying we should live a life of, like, denial, no fun allowed?
Not exactly. It's more about understanding that real fulfillment comes from something deeper than chasing fleeting pleasures. Think about those times when you felt really alive, really engaged in something that mattered. It's not about getting a reward, but that feeling of purpose that's driving you.
So it's not about denying yourself pleasure, but about knowing what you're really looking for. It's finding the joy in the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly, and that connects perfectly with principle number 15, don't act on customary beliefs. The video shows this lone figure looking out at the horizon. It's like breaking free from tradition, being willing to think for yourself.
I remember that. It felt like we were being challenged to question things, to think for ourselves and make our own path.
Exactly. Musashi knew that real growth often comes from stepping outside our comfort zones, questioning what we've been told and figuring things out for ourselves.
Makes me think about all those shoulds we get told growing up, all those expectations that maybe don't actually fit with who we are or what we want.
Yeah. And it can be really freeing to look at those shoulds and decide which ones are helpful and which ones we need to leave behind.
That's powerful, like taking back control and choosing to live a life that's true to you, even if it means going against what people expect.
Exactly. And that brings us to the heart of the Dokkodo, principle number 21. Never stray from the way. The video showed this path winding into the distance, like a symbol for staying true to your purpose no matter what.
It's a beautiful image for the dedication it takes to live a meaningful life. It's like choosing your path and sticking to it, even when it's hard.
Exactly. Musashi's saying it's important to have a clear purpose, something that keeps you grounded when things get rough. He knew that the path to mastery, in sword fighting or in life, it's full of challenges and setbacks. It's that commitment to our path that helps us keep going.
This reminds me how easy it is to get distracted by all the shiny objects in life, chasing quick fixes and instant gratification. But Musashi's reminding us that real fulfillment comes from going after something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. He understood that taking the easy way out doesn't usually lead to greatness. It's being willing to face the hard stuff, to learn and grow from it, that shapes us into who we're supposed to be.
This has been so insightful. Musashi's Dokkodo, it's not just rules for warriors, it's a guide to living with purpose, resilience, and integrity.
I agree. And it's amazing how relevant these principles still are, even centuries after Musashi lived. They show a deep understanding of human nature that goes beyond culture and time periods.
Totally. And speaking of going beyond, let's talk about something that's kind of taboo, even scary for some people, facing our own mortality. How does Musashi help us with that ultimate reality?
That's a great question. And Musashi doesn't shy away from it. He embraces it.
Okay, I'm interested. What does he say about facing death? Okay, facing mortality. Yeah, not exactly a light topic. But you're right, Musashi doesn't shy away from it. Principle number 17, do not fear death. The video, it showed the sun setting over this vast landscape. Beautiful, but kind of intense, too.
It is a powerful image. And it's saying that death is natural, just like that sunset. Musashi thought fear, especially fear of dying, it holds us back, stops us from really embracing life.
Like that saying, you only live once. But instead of using it as an excuse to be crazy, Musashi's saying we should use it to remember to live with intention, like savor every moment, because we don't know how many we have left.
Exactly. He doesn't want us to be reckless just to change our perspective. By accepting that we're going to die, we can actually free ourselves to live more fully right now.
That's a deep way to think about it. Not ignoring death, but knowing it's coming so we can make the most of the time we have.
Right. And that brings us to principle number 20. Abandon your body, but preserve your honor. That image of the falling leaf drifting down so gracefully, that one really stuck with me.
Yeah, it was beautiful. But what does it mean, abandon your body, but preserve your honor? Is he talking about like an afterlife?
Not in the usual way. Musashi's talking about legacy, what we leave behind. Our bodies, They don't last, but our actions, our choices, how we treat people, that's what stays.
So it's about living with integrity, making choices that match our values even when no one's looking. It's about building something that lasts even after we're gone.
You got it. It's realizing that even though we walk our own path, what we do affects others. We're all connected, and our choices, they shape the world around us.
This has been incredible, exploring Musashi's Dokkodo. So much wisdom packed into those 21 principles, and it's also relevant to us even today.
I agree. It shows how well Musashi understood people, that these principles, written centuries ago for warriors, can still give us such great advice for life today.
And it all comes back to that title, The Way of Walking Alone. It's not just about being physically alone, but having the guts to make your own path, your own choices, to live with integrity even when you're surrounded by people.
Exactly. It's about building that compass inside you, that inner warrior. That's what helps you stay true to yourself when you're feeling pressure or things are uncertain.
So it's like he's inviting us to be ourselves, to trust our own judgment and live a life that shows what we truly believe in.
Exactly. And that's a journey we can all take, no matter who we are or what our lives are like.
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive into Miyamoto Musashi's Dokkodo. Hope you found it as insightful as I did. It's definitely given me a lot to think about.
Me too. And I hope it's made you want to explore how these principles, these timeless ideas, can guide you on your own journey, your own path of self-discovery and, becoming the best version of yourself.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep walking your own path with courage and conviction.
We hope you have enjoyed this podcast. Do like this video and subscribe our channel. Thank you.